Alfonso's here, the godfather of the game. Many years of wisdom, remember his name. Speakers on stage, they'll drop the keys. Unlock your power and seize the breeze.
So what did I want to talk about today? Well, I wanted to talk about strategies and very specifically RRSPs, okay? And so you need to have, all of these are like tools. And if you guys are, right now are getting started in real estate, you're going to need some ammo. You're going to need some tools to be able to navigate through this new environment. And we talked about it many times, at the very beginning, you will have to use other people's money, right? So we talked about OPM, OPC, and OPT. OPM, using other people's money to invest. OPC, using other people's qualifying power to help you get into more deals, other people's credit. And OPT is what you have to bring to the table. You are bringing your time, OPT, other people's time. So for example, someone like me, I've already built a lot of my investments, and I'm more like what we're doing is we're moving into bigger deals, and we're also moving into more passive. We want to also be passive. And so, a lot of our students, they have really good, interesting deals. We don't mind investing in the deals with our students. So talking about other people's money, we've covered this multiple times here in 610 on how we're going to do this. But very specifically today, I want to talk about how to leverage other people's registered funds in order to invest into your deals. And so let me just go here real quick, and we'll do this one. Okay, so if Christian, are we on the speaker spotlight right now?
I can do that right now.
Okay, good.
There you go.
All right. So before I get started, I want everyone here on this call to understand that I am not an advisor. I don't, I'm not a professional in RSPs or investing in from that perspective. So if you are going to, use any of these strategies, or you're going to share these strategies with people around you, you should have some counsels. Talk to an advisor, talk to professionals that can help you not only structure this, but also help you understand this, because we just can't just be talking without having the proper certifications. Okay, I'm only here. I want to share my experience with you. That's my job right now. I want to show you how I've used RSPs to help me invest, and I want to make sure that you have those tools to use for yourselves. Okay, so first things first, we're not talking about, the first time home buyers plan where you can borrow from your RSP in order to put money down on a mortgage. We're talking about using your RSPs in order to invest directly into real estate. By the way, if this is a new concept for you, or if this is something that feels a little bit complicated or more on a higher level, that's perfectly fine. A lot of this, we teach this in our programs, whether you want to be, coached directly from Talia, or you want to be part of Wealth Genius. This is our job. We show you how to, we give you all the education possible so you know how to put this together. Of course, we're also going to, guide you so you use the right people in order to support you in terms of the legal professionals that can actually help you put this together. And so what we're talking about is creating, and I want you guys to follow this, okay? We're actually talking about creating a self-directed account. A self-directed account, an RSP or a tax-free savings account. And by the way, they both have different utilities, but what is a registered account? A registered account, it's simply a bubble that protects it from taxation, okay? And you create that bubble, and you went to your institution and you created that bubble, and what did they do? They invested those funds into the stock market, multiple different things that you can invest in. In this case, you're going to create a self-directed account, okay? Now, you can't go just to your regular institution. And what and right now, I'm just giving you an insight on how this works. I don't want you to go out and start doing all these things without having more information. And if you need that information, Talia, can you just put your email right in the chat box? They can reach out to you directly, and we can help them in terms of the coaching and to help them facilitate all this. But right now, we're just talking about creating a self-directed account that you actually can invest into real estate. And we'll talk about what that looks like. But what happens is, once you understand the power of those RSPs, because we're not talking about you starting an RSP. I'm talking about how do you use these RSPs? There's billions and billions and billions of dollars right now in people's RSPs. A lot of you on this call, you guys are between 25 to 30 years old. Some of you are, in your early 30s. You may not have a fully funded RSP account, but we're talking about your investors. And we've had multiple conversations about this before. Where are you going to find your investors? How do you find this? And I talked about the power of Facebook and how you're going to find the majority of your investors on Facebook. Because what? If we were to create an avatar, if you create an avatar of your perfect investor, that investor has probably been working for 25 years plus, probably in his 40s, probably has a registered accounts like tax-free savings and RSPs. And so what you want to do is attract those people to you so you can have these conversations. And when you attract a lot of the, first of all, I see what's your avatar, where are you going to find those people, and then attract those people to you. You have those conversations, and now you can be in a situation where, of course, you can educate the people around you, where most people do not know that they can invest their RSPs into real estate. And so, meeting people, you build a list of people that have the potential to invest in your deals or be potential business partners or joint venture partners, okay? And so you can actually, using RSPs, all right, you can actually fund your deals 100%. And especially at the very beginning, if you're just trying to get started, if you're trying to do BRRRRs, if you're trying to do flips, it's important to have access to capital where you actually can invest, in helping other people get a higher return in their investments and fund your deals 100%. You can also syndicate deals. Of course, a lot of things in the past year have changed. So laws have changed. It's up to you to do your due diligence and get educated on how this works and all the latest changes in the marketplace. But syndication just means that you can group multiple people's RSPs in order to get more funding into one particular deal. The average person does not know that this is possible because, these institutions, they're making money from investing people's RSPs. They don't really have motivation to show people how to create a self-directed account for themselves to invest into real estate. They're not going to make a lot of money doing this. And so most people don't know or are unaware that they can create a self-directed account to invest directly into real estate. And then, of course, and I think we've brought that subject up here multiple times, these blended returns, okay? Blended returns, so I know there's a light covering what it says here. Over the light, it says returns. So blended returns, meaning you can support someone in helping them, with their RSPs and their tax-free savings accounts, and registering those two registered accounts on one property, and then blending the returns. So, for example, giving them a higher return in their tax-free savings account versus their RSP. So you can work with like that, because there's a lot of utility in these accounts. So when you meet your investor, when you meet that investor, what are you gonna say? How are you gonna get them to invest in you? You could talk about a potential portfolio analysis or portfolio review. You sit down with your investor and you say, hey, I know that you have registered accounts and you have equity in your house, and because most people don't really know. It's like that old commercial. The kids are running all over the house, and they're looking underneath the couch, they're looking behind the couch, they're looking behind the curtain, and then the dad comes in and is like, hey, what are you kids doing? And then the kids are like, well, we overheard you told mom there's $300K in the house. And so a lot of people are just not aware of all of the equity and capital they have available to invest. And if you guys, being active investors, and I'm just going to assume that a lot of you are active investors, if you are in a position where you can educate a lot of these people, for sure they're going to want to invest with you. And most people don't know that they can invest, they can refinance their property to take out some capital in order to reinvest it. Most people don't know that they can invest their RSPs. And another subject matter that I want to bring to this group is the Smith maneuver. The ability to take your existing mortgage and actually reinvest it into investments. So instead of having a mortgage, that mortgage itself becomes a vehicle for you guys to invest in. Not you specifically, but your potential joint venture capital partner, which is what you're looking for. You're looking for someone that has the ability and has the education to invest with you. And so you could, when you do this review, you talk about the available capital. People may say, well, I don't have any capital. And, but we're talking about, maybe equity, RSPs, stocks, land, savings, etc. So we have Bob and Mary, and Bob and Mary had a house that was worth $600,000, and they had a $300,000 mortgage. Well, what we showed them was something very simple. Refine that property at 480. So you get a refinance, you get a new mortgage at 480. We buy out the existing mortgage of $300,000, right? And then you have $180,000 available to invest. Well, they put it into an investment that was yielding them 16% interest annually. And so that 180 gave them an extra $28,800. Now, when they had the 180 in the house, it was doing nothing because the money wasn't producing. And when you sit down, you do a portfolio review with your potential joint venture, and you just show them what they can do, right? You're not convincing anyone. You're just giving them, you're showing them numbers. The math, the numbers speak for themselves. And so you're basically saying, hey, look, if you could take a 180 from your house, invest it, you could get an extra $28,000 a year. Now, of course, there's a cost to that 180. So that cost, let's say it was 3%. We're going to talk, right now it's more like 4%. But let's say if it was, because this was past tense, it was 3%. That cost comes at $9,084. So they are making $28,000, but there is also a cost associated with it, which means they end up with an extra $19,000, and I think you can't see it because of the light. So an extra $19,000 and change, which gives them an extra $1,643 per month. Okay, I know you can't see that. I'll put it over here. 1964, and then 1643 per month. So even though there is an expense to borrowing that money, they're still clearing close to $20,000 a year. For someone working a regular job, they've been working for the past 25 years, this can be extremely significant. And when we talk about, creating those opportunities for you to be a joint venture working partner, where you are going to give up your time, you're not begging for money here. You're actually doing someone a favor because you have decided to invest in yourself, get educated, get the experience, everything that our programs offer you, you have decided to invest in yourself. That's the value that you're bringing to the table. So you're not doing they're not doing you any favors. You're actually doing them a favor by helping them, get closer to their goals. My name is Alfonso Cuadra. They call me the Godfather of real estate. I've been in business for over 30 years, in real estate over 26 years. I built a multi-million-dollar portfolio. And now I'm going across North America, talking to people and signing checks. I'm looking for deals because I'm building $1 billion portfolio. Is that you? Let me make an offer you can't refuse.
We just don't have enough information to make this decision. There's too many unknowns. And for that reason, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave.
And so this self-directed, again, we talked about it. It's like a bubble, okay? And this could be a self-directed tax-free savings account. It could be a self-directed RSP. It could be a LIRA. So a LIRA is something that's set up by your employer. It doesn't really matter. What you need to do is get educated. Get as much education on how these works. How do you put all of these together? But once you have a self-directed account in RSPs, for example, you can invest into, properties, because now and by the way, you're not collapsing your RSP, you're actually investing within it. And so you can work on mortgages into properties. You become the bank, which is what people, this is like, have you ever walked into a bank? Look how beautiful the bank looks. Where do you think all that money is coming from? It's coming from the people. It's coming from how they use their money. So they can actually become the bank, okay? And so the bank, being the bank, you can invest into mortgages on properties. You actually can invest into syndicate mortgages. This is like, putting together a group of other RSPs together, and we call it a syndicate mortgage. The rules on that have changed, but the main concept has not. And we can talk about that at another time. You can also invest into land developments or even into private equity. You can't see that because of the light, but it says REITs. Okay, so there's a lot of utility. Once someone starts a self-directed account, they have a lot of utility. They can invest into multiple different things. Okay, so this is something to know. There's a lot of rules, and rules are changing all the time. It's up to you to keep up with the specific rules. I'm not an advisor. Okay, I'm not an RSP advisor or trying to tell you what to do with your money, or try to misinform you in any way. It's up to you to get the information. I am here simply speaking from my experience. But there's two types. Once you create an RSP, there's two types of mortgages that you can invest in, and the first one is an arm's length. So let me just change the color here. The first one is an arm's length. And so what does that mean? Arm's length mortgage. It means that people that are unrelated to you, okay? So arm's length, if you keep someone at arm's length, that means that person is, could be a stranger, but someone that is not related to you by blood. And so for an investor, that's where all the utility is, okay? Because there's specific rules with each type of mortgage. So the first one is an arm's length transaction where people are unrelated. What I love about it, it can be a first mortgage, but it can also be a second mortgage. What does this mean? It means you can get, if you're buying a property, you can get a mortgage from a different lender, and that lender goes on first position, and you can also have a second mortgage coming from an individual, someone's RSP, to help you put less money out of your pocket. For example, if you were buying $100,000 property and you have a first mortgage of $80,000, you get a second mortgage of $20,000. That means the deal is 100% funded, and so a lot of utility there. There's no fee. There's no CMHC fee here, meaning you don't have to qualify with CMHC. So that there's definitely an advantage to that arm's length transaction. And then it can be 100% LTV, okay? Loan to value. By the way, some of these terms may seem, may seem complicated at first, but once you do this multiple times, it's going to be like second nature. And the second one is a non-arm's length. Non-arm's length, these are people that are related, okay? These are people that are related to you by blood or even adoption, okay, or marriage. For example, in my RSP account, you see, Talia is my daughter. I cannot give her a mortgage because I mean, I can, but you have to follow these specific rules, but because we are blood related, okay? So non-arm's length transactions, these are people that are related by blood, marriage, or even adoption, okay? So, there are specific rules here. Number one, if you are gonna do a non-arm's length, it needs to be insured by CMHC. CMHC, okay? So that's number one. Number two, it can only be a first. Can only be a first mortgage. What does this mean? It means that you cannot have, if it's a non-arm's length transaction, it cannot be in a second position. You don't have the utility of having, that second position, which you can get a traditional lender, and then you can have like an RSP lender to help you with like $40,000-$60,000 for a down payment. And then the last one, which I think makes it so it's not even an option for me as an investor. It's the one that you need to qualify. You need to qualify like a regular mortgage. Okay, so you actually have to qualify for this mortgage. What does this mean? It means there's no utility in the non-arm's length. All of the utility is in the arm's length. And the ability to register a second mortgage, the fact that you don't have to register, you don't have to sign up or get insured by CMHC or have to qualify through CMHC, and it can be 100% loan to value, appraised value, by the way, appraised value. I think all of the utility is here for the investor. And this is why I would be looking at, making sure I have an amazing list and attract great investors that I can actually help doing, using a lot of these strategies. For people on this call right now, I want you to understand that if you are starting with this, it might be a little bit complicated. What you need to know is you can continue that education. You can continue that coaching. You can continue to get better at this. So you learn how to communicate this information with your potential joint venture investors. When you sit down and you can share that you can help someone actually get a higher return in their registered accounts that they would have received from traditional institutions, you have those people, you have their attention. And because you're the one that brought that education, they're going to be more attracted to you and they're going to want to invest with you specifically. So let me just pull up the screen here. Let me see if I have I was working on it just to give you a little bit more on this. Okay, let's look at this. Let's go back here, and then we're going to share. And remove this slideshow. And this is more of, kind of reiterating what I've just shared with you. But it's important that you really understand how this works, and how people, in the majority of the people, they have been trained even from the very beginning that you should invest your money in RSPs. So a lot of people that are older, 40 plus, okay, they're going to have a lot of money in these RSPs. In fact, there's billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars in people's RSPs that the returns that they're getting are in between, 1 or 2 or 3%. And if you're getting, even if you're getting 4% return in your RSPs, you're not even keeping up with inflation, because inflation is now, the government's saying 6%, but I'm going to say it's more like 16%. And so you actually are ahead of the game if you are staying above that 6% inflation rate. Again, I want to remind you this over and over. If you are going to be doing or using any of these strategies, make sure you talk to a legal, taxation, or financial advisor that is licensed. Okay, here's the key: licensed to be able to advise you on these types of investments. I am only here to share my experience. So we went through this portfolio review and how you would sit down with one of your potential investors and just simply have a conversation on, the capital. And you can even, talk to people in your family and say, listen, do you know that you can invest your RSPs, or you have equity, you can invest. Most people don't really understand this, and they don't know that they're richer than they think. Okay, without trying to promote specific banks or whatever, but it's a really nice tagline. You are richer than you think. I shared this particular strategy with you, or case study of a student, but I want to go back to those, that self-directed account, and specifically who's eligible in those self-directed accounts. Well, RSPs, RESPs, by the way, these educational funds that parents set up for their kids for post-secondary education. They can be invested directly into real estate. LIRAs, of course, LIRAs are set up by your employers. And then, if I had time, or one of our future meetings, I'll talk about the power of the tax-free savings account and how you can actually fully fund that tax-free savings account and actually get higher returns, and the money you're making in the tax-free savings account can be tax-free. If you can sit down with one of your investors, you can show them this strategy, they're going to want to invest with you for life. Now, self-directed accounts are not unusual. Like if you went to your institution and you said, listen, I want to have a self-directed account, they'll say, yeah, here you go. They can give you a self-directed account, and you have the ability to invest into, for example, your own stocks, your own GICs, T-bills, and bonds, stocks, mutual funds, whatever it is that you want to invest in. But what we're talking about is a very specific self-directed account where it allows you to invest into mortgages secured by real estate. And that's what makes it really interesting, because in my point of view, this is my opinion, your money is the safest in real good quality assets like multifamily real estate. And then, okay, this is the same diagram that we talked about before. Self-directed, you have the ability to invest into mortgages on properties or syndicate mortgages. This is when people come together with, people come together and form one mortgage to be registered on one property. So for example, if you had 5 people that wanted to participate with you, maybe all of them, they had like, $50,000 each. That means you have $250,000 that could be registered on one property. Again, the rules have slightly changed on this. You should get educated. And if this is being recorded. So, but if you're watching this, the rules are always changing. So you want to make sure you have the most up-to-date information, but you have the ability to invest into syndicate mortgages, land development, or even private equity. We call this REITs, these real estate investment trusts. Well, you could invest directly into a real estate investment trust. If you went to your bank and you talk about a REIT, they're going to give you public REITs. What we're talking about is very specific private REITs. A private REIT does not follow the market like public REIT. So a public REIT is more like a stock versus a private REIT, which is private equity. And so that's what we love. And all of the money that is made has to go back into that bubble. Okay. So it's not like people are going to be able to spend this money if they have an RSP. If they have a tax-free savings account, they can. But in this case, you're not talking about them completely collapsing their RSP. You're not talking about them getting out of the RSP. You're simply showing people how they can invest within the RSP. And we talked about the two different types of mortgages: arm's length transactions and non-arm's length transactions, and the rules that are associated with these types of mortgages. Okay, so the arm's length, these are parties that are unrelated. That is where us as investors, everybody on this call, that's where all the utility is for you. As an investor, you want to go into the arm's length. The non-arm's length, for example, parties that are related by blood or marriage or even adoption. For example, if I wanted to give Talia a mortgage through my RSP, I cannot do that because this would be an arm's length transaction. So that means the property would need to be insured. Of course, it needs to be insured, but the mortgage itself needs to be insured by CMHC. So there's no utility in that because you have to go through this qualifying. And if you have to qualify like a regular mortgage, well, you might as well get a regular mortgage and still have those RSP available to invest. But arm's length, this is where all the magic happens, where you can now, work peer-to-peer, talk to people, help them understand, educate them, help them, invest into real estate. Maybe it could be first mortgages, but, some people may only have 100 or 150,000. They can help you in terms of a down payment. So now you can be 100% funded.
Join us for our 10th and biggest Expand Investor Conference. And this year, this November, we are doing it in Calgary, Alberta. Yeah! And it's going to be a big one. And I want you to go and get your tickets right away. Our Expand Investor Conference, our 10th edition of our Expand Investor Conference is happening in Alberta. Get your tickets right away.